Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I want to welcome you to Mustafa's boot camp. This is kind of an interesting video, I think. It's before you become a Muslim, I said watch this. It's got some interesting details in here. And I'm going to give you what I call the 4 C's. The 4 C's: compulsion, conflict, culture, and continuance. These are 4 things you need to keep in mind before you take the Shahada. And a lot of people are interested in becoming a Muslim. We have converts every single day, by the thousands, all over the world. And these things should be considered first. Now, let's take the first C. Let's look at the first one. Now, compulsion. Well, what does it mean, compulsion? Well, if somebody coerces you into becoming a Muslim, say you owe a debt, for an example, and say somebody says, well, I'll forgive that debt if you just become a Muslim. That's compulsion. I think you get the idea. I think if you're from the West, I think you get the idea what compulsion is. But I think one of the biggest things that induces young ladies, young sisters, eventually to become Muslim is marriage. They want to get married. They met this wonderful Muslim guy and they fell in love, and they're not Muslim, and probably they're not a real practicing Christian, although they could be. Okay, so then they want to marry this guy. And he says, well, my family, we're all Muslim and we've been Muslim and I'm a Muslim, and we'd like you to become a Muslim if you're going to get married. We're going to get married. Usually the family is the one that comes up with this, not the couple themselves. But anyway, okay, the girl said, all right, I'll become Muslim. And, you shouldn't be compelled to become a Muslim like that. I think that's the biggest one in the United States, I'm sure, is that they met this guy and they want to get married, and they can't get married unless she becomes a Muslim. Because if you're at the age of childbearing, it's a good idea. It's a real good idea because you want to raise your children as Muslims. All right? You don't want to raise them, you don't want to have this split religion in the house. And it's all right for older people like myself. I mean, it would be fine for somebody like myself because I'm not interested in having kids anymore, and I'm getting elderly, and it's just not something that, I'd be looking forward to, and there would be no conflict that way. But if you're at childbearing years, there would be some conflict on how you're going to raise these children. Whether they're going to be Christian or whether they're going to be Muslim, how are you going to do it? And that's just something that you shouldn't be compelled to do because of marriage. Okay, now there's conflict. That's the second one, and that's probably a big one because I don't know of too many people that became Muslim that didn't suffer some kind of conflict, either from if you're from the West, that is, and if you're an American and you've lived in this culture all your life, and you're English speaking like myself, the conflict is ever present. I mean, it's everywhere. You can't walk out in the street, you can't go to the store, if they know you're a Muslim, but here's the catch-22. For most of the guys, it's not too bad. You get that? How many guys in the West do you see here going to work with a thobe and a kufi? How many? How many you see? There's no way to distinguish them if they're Muslim or what faith they are. But the minute you would put a thobe on and a kufi, I guarantee you they're going to look at you and they're going to say, wow, what is that? It's one of them Muslims over there. And that's exactly what they do. And you know it. You know it. My kufi's off to the sisters because they wear the hijab and they wear the Islamic dress, and they go out in public, and a lot of them work, and Man the criticism. I can guarantee you that they take in some places at some times. Depends where you live. So conflict. You got conflict from the outside. You got conflict from the inside of your family. I want you to think about this. You were probably raised, if you lived in this country, you were probably raised Christian, or at least you had some affiliation with some Christian organizations. Maybe you went to Bible school, or maybe you went to uh, vacation Bible school when you were a kid, and parents like to get rid of kids in the summertime when school's out, so that's one way they do it, and they get fed and they maybe learn something there, and they get watched. There are babysitters there for them. So anyway, that's if you were raised like that, uh, maybe your Christianity is pretty shallow. Maybe you're a strong Christian. I don't know, but there's conflict when you become a Muslim, because your family's now going to say, "Wow, what have I been watching on CNN or ABC or any one of those alphabetical news stations? I see Muslims strapping dynamite on themselves and running into crowds, or having a bomb in a backpack, or is that what you're going to do? Is that what you're becoming?" See, it's the portrayal of what society and what culture in this country is putting forward. And that causes conflict in the family. That makes a big difference. So you're going to have this conflict inside the family. I don't know of too many people, unless you're my age. I mean, you don't get any conflict when you're my age. I mean, and you don't let things bother you. I think after you hit about 50 years old, I don't think things bother you like they did, and you just don't pay attention to things, or you can just blow it off real easy and do what you want. And by the time you get 60 years old, just about everybody you knew has passed away anyway, so your family and friends are basically pretty much gone. And so you don't have that conflict, that inter-family conflict. You got plenty of it outside, I can guarantee you that. There's plenty of conflict from the outside. So let's talk about culture now. What about culture? You came to this country, you made hijrah to this country. A lot of you came from faraway places, Indonesia, Pakistan, India, all these places. Maybe you came from Arabia even, I don't know. But it's different here, isn't it? Very different here. Why, you can just look on the news, or you can look on anything on... you can look out there in the streets, and you can see people are dressed a lot different. A lot different. Girls are wearing next to nothing in clothes. Absolutely. And guys are just going about their business, waiting for the weekends so they can grab that 12-pack of beer and watch the ball games. I mean, that's the culture of this country. That's the mentality of this country. Sunday, after they sober up from Saturday ball games, they might attend church. And then after church, they go and get the dogs and go out dog hunting, or maybe they go to the beach, or they go somewhere, some little activity, to keep themselves busy, keep themselves pacified, happy. So the culture is a lot different. The economic culture is just absolutely different. I mean, everybody is out for a buck, and even a lot of the Muslim brothers, when they come here, they want to work 12 hours a day. They want to buy the new car. They want to buy the new house. They want to, and a lot of that's done with kufr. It's done through banks with interest, and that's haram. But they go down that path. I mean, it's the culture. It's the culture that they're living in. Go to the plaza. Go to the mall. What do you see? You see half-dressed people. You see music blaring in your ears, and you can't. It's the culture. It's just not like it is in some other countries, and especially an Islamic country. Now, I haven't been to an Islamic country, but I know a great deal about it. And And I know that we're a lot different. And our values, our morals, and our whole economic system is different than where you came from. And that's obvious. So with all these things, before you become a Muslim, I want you to consider these, because now the last one is continuance in the religion. Giving all these things that I just mentioned, these 3 C's to begin with, do you think your continuance in Islam is going to be the same as it was as where you came from? That's the question. I remember my first Ramadan. I was looking and observing. I mean, because that was the first time. First Ramadan for me was an interesting time. I thought the food was a little too spicy, but anyway, I watched families. And I watched the grandparents. And they would be, their values were different, I noticed, than their grandchildren. All right? Teenage girls. I'd say teenage, 17, 18, 19 years old, with jeans, tight jeans. Now, would that be the norm on Ramadan in Saudi Arabia and in the mosque? I don't think that would work. But see, they came, they brought their values, and the kids were raised here, a lot of them, and their values have changed. And you know, the Romans, let me tell you something. When the Romans, and you know the Roman Empire, when they would come and they would conquer a place, and they would conquer a people, they would take people from here and they would send them somewhere else, and they would take people from there and they would send them there, and because they didn't want the culture, you know, to survive. They wanted to impose their culture, which was Roman culture. And if these people were all one, they were more likely to keep their same culture. So they would transfer them here and there, you know, break it up, break up the people, break up the culture. And they knew that. They knew that if you go to a certain place and it's got a certain culture, maybe you are not going to change. Now, I know I wouldn't at my age, but your grandkids or your kids and your grandkids are all going to be absorbed into that culture that you go to, and they're going to be like the people of that culture. So that's some things to consider, you know, before you become a Muslim, before you take that Shahada, because that is a very committed form of becoming a Muslim. Once you take the Shahada, there's no going back. I mean, and in some Islamic countries, there used to be, I don't know if there is today or not, but there used to be a penalty of death. If you were to revert back to whatever you came from, Judaism or Christianity, you would be executed. The reason was because you would harm the community. Your ideas and your views would persuade others, and the next thing you know, you got a chain reaction of people leaving, and they didn't want that. But when I said your continuance, I meant not only your continuance to practice, but your continuance to learn. And that's one of the things that's going to keep you on a straight path. If you do your 5 daily prayers, okay? And if you continue to learn Islam. And I know a lot of people, and they're Islamic. They've been that way all their life. But their knowledge of Islam is very, very tiny and compartmentalized. It's over here in a box, say. It's very little and it's over in a box. So they know to practice, they know the prayers, they know to go on Friday to Jum the Friday, in the prayer time. They know to listen to the khutbah. They do these things, but that's it. That is it. That's the depth and the scope of their Islam. And, you know, they haven't been continuing. They haven't been learning. That's the biggest problem. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said you got to study, you got to learn. Uh, the Sahaba, they were ever learning, ever learning, ever learning, trying to become better, trying to become better. So consider these 4 C's. I hope it helped you. Um, it's just some common sense. That's all it is. And a lot of people don't have it because I see, they did it in the same. When I was a pastor, and I pastored a Baptist church, people would come and they'd want to get married. Young couples would want to get married, and I would look and I'd say, Jesus, I haven't seen either one of you guys in church in ever, and I've been here 2 years. So where you been? But now it's this important time in their life. Their families want to have a big celebration, and now we got to get married by the church. We want a preacher to do the marriage. We don't want the justice of the peace. And they appear. They just appear. You never seen them before. Their families. Their family's been there. Mother and dad, brothers, maybe some of them. But you never seen them personally. And the same thing with Muslims. The same thing. There's, it's like I said, the young girl will meet this guy and thinks she's got to become a Muslim to get married, and it's best if she would, but it's not 100% necessary. And I'll talk about that a little bit. It's not 100% necessary for a husband to take a Muslim wife as opposed to a Christian if she's a practicing Christian. Now there's a difference there. The Sahaba did it all the time when they had battles and some of the Christian men were killed and the women were there. They married these Christian women. They weren't virgins, like so many times you believe. You're led to believe that she has to be a virgin to be married. If she's a Christian, that's not exactly true. I mean, these women were married previously. So consider these things. Consider these thoughts. And as far as the compulsion, the Quran in Surah 2, verse ayat 256, and that's where you're going to find that verse where there's no compulsion in religion. Somebody can't put a gun to your head and say, become a Muslim or die. That's compulsion. No Muslim would do that. No Muslim would do that. All right, brothers and sisters, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the subscribe for more videos. Hit the bell so you can get the newer ones when they come out. And if you want to write me with a question, you can write me at americanislam.ed@gmail.com or at yahoo.com. That's americanislam.ed@gmail.com or yahoo.com. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I hope you have a good day. Stay safe from the pandemic. Wear your masks if you're in the crowds. Get your vaccination, and I think everything's going to be fine. Assalamu alaikum.